You have lost days and poured hundreds of hours into America Truck Simulator, but something still feels a little off maybe? Well, you're not alone. The default settings are fine, but they can make the massive truck you drive feel more like an arcade game than a true truck. If you're ready to make the experience genuinely immersive, this is the guide for you. Together we're going to walk through the graphics, gameplay and physics settings step by step to get you that super immersive feel. We'll even cover head and eye tracking, dive deep on an advanced config file edit, and to top it all off with some essential mods. So go ahead, get comfortable my friend, and let's start this journey together. First things first, head over to options, then graphics. We'll start with the heavy hitters. So set your texture, quality and shadows to ultra. This will give you the sharpest look. For reflection scaling, 200% will give you crisp reflections without a huge performance hit. Now for the most important setting here, scaling. For the best performance, keep this at 100%. If you have a very powerful high-end PC, you can try pushing it to 125 or a lot higher for an even sharper image. But for most people, 100% will be the perfect balance. Next, let's quickly run through the detail settings. For that full realism effect, we want to enable depth of field, DOF, sun shafts, and then set all your detail levels like vegetation, grass density, and weather to either high or ultra depending on your PC. This will make the world feel lush and alive. The goal here is to max these out, but if you're losing frames, shadow quality and mirror distance are the first ones you need to lower. Now for you NVIDIA users, a quick trip to the NVIDIA control panel, or if you're on an AMD, you'll have very similar options. If you need to know where to find it, go to your desktop, right click on your mouse, go to show more options, click on that, and then you will see the option for the NVIDIA control panel or the AMD. The first thing we need to change is the texture filtering. The negative LOD bias, change this to clamp. This one is huge for reducing that annoying shimmering on things like fences, rails, anything that shines basically. The next one we want to do is the texture filtering. Now you want to set this to high quality. And the third and final one we want to do is the trill near optimization. Make sure you turn this off. Once you've done that, you need to give your PC a restart and you should see noticeable sharper textures in the game straight away. But a pretty game is only half the battle. Now we need to make the world itself feel more authentic. Let's jump into the gameplay option menu. Now this is a big one as it controls both the rules of the road and the feel of your truck. Let's look at some of the settings that a lot of people do miss or avoid, and I'm definitely one of them sometimes. First up is fatigue simulation. Turn this on. It forces you to plan your routes and manage rest stops, just like a real trucker has to do in real life, and after all, we are trying to make this game real. The traffic offences, switch this on. Getting fined for running a red light or speeding makes you drive a lot more carefully and realistically like you would do in everyday life. Now your parking difficulty, set this to random. It keeps you on your toes and makes you park every single trailer yourself like a real trucker does. And let's be honest, when I turn up in places to deliver or collect a load, unfortunately I don't know where I'm picking up from. I don't know what bay I'm going on, so this just makes it more real. Advanced trailer coupling, definitely turn this on. It does add that extra immersive step of having to physically line your truck with your trailer to connect up and to carry on with your day. It's just more real. Next would be realistic fuel consumption. You need to turn this on. you actually feel the difference in your fuel usage, especially when you're hauling a heavy load or even a light load at that case, where you're obviously financially better off in-game. Whilst we're still here on the gameplay menu, let's scroll down to the physics and camera section. Let's dial these in a lot more, and we'll use the sliders to make the truck feel more perfect. Truck stability. Now, drop this down to about 30%. Lowering this lets the cab lean and react to corners, and obviously the effects then with the weather. Trailer stability, take this all the way down to 0, if you're brave enough that is. Otherwise, 35% is a good start. This makes your trailer feel like a separate heavy identity. Moving on to suspension stiffness. I find around 33% is a great balance. You feel the bumps in the road, but it's not overly harsh. Now, braking intensity, set this to around about 60 to 70%. This is absolutely key to prevent your wheels from locking up, and it's also forcing you, the driver, to use your Jake brake and plan your stops like a pro. Then we have camera physical movement. A good starting point is 50%. This helps keep the horizon level while still letting you feel the motion. With the gameplay and physics all dialed in, it's time to perfect our steering. For this, we'll head over to the controls menu. These next two settings are crucial for getting that precise one-to-one feel with a steering wheel. Your steering sensitivity, push this all the way to 1.00 for a wheel. This ensures no input is lost. The fine control comes from the next setting. Steering non-linearity. Set this all the way to the left or 0%. This makes your steering input direct and predictable. But just a heads up, this is optimized for a steering wheel. If you're using a different controller, you might want to add a little more non-linearity to your settings. Now that we've pushed the in-game settings to their limits, it's time to talk about the single biggest leap in immersion you can make, and it involves stepping just outside the game. For what might be the biggest leap in your gameplay, so let's talk head tracking. This tech lets you naturally look around the cab just by moving your head. Until recently, this meant expensive hardware, but now you can get a premium experience using just your webcam, and it's a total game changer. The setup is incredibly simple, and after a small one-time purchase, you can just install the app, select the camera, start the tracking, and launch the game. It just works. Instead of fumbling with buttons to check your mirrors, you just basically look. But I will give you a pro tip though. If you do go down the Look Pilot avenue, do make sure you load it directly from the website, as the direct version supports over 700 games, expanding its use well beyond your Steam library. By the way, if you're finding this guide useful, it would be a huge help if you could tap that like button. It tells me you want to see more content like this, and it helps other truckers find this video also. Now, for those of you who aren't afraid to get your hands a little dirty, we're going to dive deep into the game's config file for a tweak that can make your gameplay feel incredibly smooth. In the config file, this is where we can make tweaks that the in-game menu doesn't allow. So what you need to do is head to your Documents folder, then American Truck Simulator folder, but please make a backup copy of the config file just in case. Either you don't like it or in case something goes wrong. Just cover yourself, my friends. Now, you open the original config file with a text editor, something like Notepad. First up, I'll show you the two most important edits. What you need to do is press Ctrl and F on your keyboard, and it will bring up a search bar. And then you need to type in uset r buffer page size. The default is usually around 10. Increasing this to 30 or 50 can dramatically reduce stuttering in-game, especially with mods. The second setting we want to find is uset space score averaging window length. Setting this to double your monitor's refresh rate can easily smooth out frame delivery and make your experience a lot smoother. For example, if you've got a 60Hz monitor, you change it to 120. If you've got a 180Hz monitor, you change it to 360, and so on. You get my drift. Now, there are dozens of other lines you can tweak in here, but going through them one by one would be a video in itself for sure. So to truly deliver on the promise of transforming your game, I've done something special. I've put my entire personal config file with over 30 tweaks for maximum realism into a Google Doc for you. The link is in the video description. Think of it as a bonus, me saying thank you for taking the time for watching this video so far. But now we have tuned the game, we've tweaked the files, we're heading for our final step, which is to truly bring the world to life. So we need to talk about mods. To really complete the transformation, here are a few types of mods I use and some I religiously use. But remember to check that the mods that you download are compatible with your current version of the game. You'll find links to all the mods mentioned in the Google Doc in the description. First up, we have the Realistic Truck Physics by FRKN64. This completely overhauls how the truck feels and is an absolute must-have in your game. The next one is the Sissel's Mega Pack. Now I know it's old and there are newer ones out there, but this one just performs. This makes your truck's interior your own with hundreds of cab accessories you can add just for fun. Next up, we got the Reformer map. Now, you're probably using this anyway, but this is a massive free map overhaul. This adds huge realistic regions of Mexico and just gives you more areas to discover. Next up, we got the Jazzy Cats Trailers and Cargo Pack. This dramatically increases the variety of jobs you can take, which is followed by the Real Traffic Density by Clip. Now, I'm a solid believer in this mod. Simply, it works the ebb and flow of traffic during times of day, and it has been, for me, it has been absolutely bang on the button every time with its traffic patterns, amongst other delightful things in game. After that, we have the AI Traffic Pack, again by Jazzy Cat. Now, this adds over 300 real world vehicles to the road. It just makes the road more visually appealing. You're not seeing the same repetitive vehicles all the time. It's just offering you a lot more variety when you're driving along, enjoying the game. The next one up is the Sound Fixes Pack. This has been around for years, but it is a solid legend. It just does what it says, and it delivers it well every single time, as it replaces hundreds of stock sounds with much more immersive audio sounds. Then we have the Real Company's gas station and billboards. This swaps generic brands with the real world counterparts, and it just makes your game feel real. As far as graphic mods go, for the free version, you can go for the Realistic Brutal Weather and Graphics mod. This is an incredible free option and gives you a massive visual upgrade to the weather, the skies and the lighting. But if you've got some dollars in your pocket, then obviously you want to stretch out a little bit further. There are two other options, which is Project Next Gen and obviously JBX Graphics. Then the next one, which I gotta have every single time, it's the Realistic Icons by Distrobal. When you arrive somewhere and you see the flashing icons, this gets rid of them and replaces them with white square boxes to use on weighbridges, collection points, and also it adds white lines to a loading bay so you know exactly where you need to stop. But what it does do, by getting rid of all the neon and flashing lights, it just makes the game feel like a game. The next one up is the Cooper Economy mod. Now this makes the economy more realistic and unforgiving for a real challenge. Now this mod went out in ATS 2, and in ATS 2 it absolutely nailed it. But in ATS it's just as powerful if not better in some ways. It is an awesome mod, no doubt. Now that you have those settings applied and the config file installed, your game should feel a lot less like an arcade game and more like a true-to-life simulation. Your truck should feel heavy, the world around you should look sharper, and the job should be a whole lot more challenging. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into ATS and ETS too, if that's your thing.